coming up here is my absolute favorite thing about this car, its suspension and the whole chassis. And it is this. Oh my goodness. Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and this is the 2022 Audi A3 Quattro. And in this video, I think I've fallen in love. The Audi A3 had the distinct honors of being one of those weird cars that had a 2020 refresh and kind of fell in that weird gap of, well, a weird year. But what is not weird about this is the 2-liter Turbo 4 underneath the hood. This thing is good. The intercooled turbo gas and mild hybrid engine in this A3 makes 201 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to a 7-speed automatic transmission that does have paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel, and this is one of those vehicles where I actually kind of like using the paddle shifters, but we'll get more into that while driving it. Closing the hood, and you can appreciate the updated styling for the A3 since this was refreshed in 2020. This being a 2022 model, not a whole lot has changed since this came out. You can see we have full LED headlights and LED turn signals. Fog lights are actually incorporated into these headlight units. And then you have this big, bold, brash Audi grille that I really, really like. Audi has really come into this big grille era very nicely, even though this part right here is completely closed off. You do get the 4 rings up front, and of course the Quattro badge letting you know, and everyone else around you, that you can put down power to all 4 wheels here in this compact sports sedan. Moving along to the side, you can see that this does share some family resemblance to the other vehicles on this platform, most notably the most recent Golf. But this version, being the Audi, is a 4-door sedan and is a quite compact one. This is the entry-level Audi, and it is a definite good entry into the brand, as it is the first Audi that I've spent any length of time with. I have tested an R8 here on the channel, but that one was used. This one is brand new and has definitely got me smitten for this brand. And one of the reasons why I am so smitten with this car is the fact that it can make the most of its power from that 2-liter 4-cylinder and packs quite a punch when paired with these Pirelli P0 all-season tires. They are wrapped around these 5-spoke 18-inch wheels that are an upgrade over the base A3, and I think really set off the look. Moving to the very back, you can definitely tell the European roots of this vehicle with the amber turn signals. I absolutely love that these are sequential turn signals back here in the back, unlike in the front where they're just on or off. I really like the clean, simple style back here in the very back. Not a whole lot of muss or fuss when it comes to the A3. Pop the rear trunk, and you do have a rather shallow opening, but it is fairly tall and gives you quite a bit of access into the back. You do have a 60/40 split bench rear seat, so you can put longer items in if you need, and that 40% is on the driver's side. But I really like the overall dynamics and proportions of this vehicle. Makes for a very sporting nature when you hop inside. Speaking of which, hopping into the driver's seat of the A3 is rather easy and very straightforward. I really like the simplicity of the design in here. Everything is clean and laid out exactly where you would expect it. There are a few exceptions to that. The infotainment screen is amazing and stellar and crystal clear, as is the gauge screen behind the steering wheel. In fact, both of these screens are the highest resolution I think I've seen in any vehicle, and this is the entry-level Audi, so I can only imagine what top trims are really bringing to the table with maybe some larger screens. But I feel like on some of the album art in this vehicle, I could actually see the pores of the person on the cover. That's just how high-res these are. I think they're better than my TV at home. AC controls are really easy and well laid out right here underneath the infotainment. Down here you get some drive buttons, your drive select, traction control, auto start stop off, parking sensors, and your self park feature, because this does have the 7-speed automatic gearbox, and it has a chintzy little gear selector lever that is not my favorite, but is also not the worst in the business. Your engine start stop button is right here down on the center console right here, and right across from it is your volume controls, which is something I'm not exactly a huge fan of. It's a wheel or a dial, and it's not the easiest to use. Thank goodness they give you a scroll wheel here on the steering wheel. This steering wheel is also amazing, just the right amount of grip and bolsters. It's leather wrapped and it feels absolutely high quality. Gives you a great place to hold it when using these flappy paddles. Again, we'll get into that while we're driving. Very driver-centric cockpit right here. You've got two very high mounted air vents right up here, giving you a cockpit style view of the twin gauge cluster, and that center section is highly configurable. You can put maps, you can put infotainment stuff, you can put your fuel economy, whatever you need you can put right there in the center. It uses Google Maps. It's a pretty good system. Already talked about the infotainment screen being very good. This does have heated, no ventilated seats on this model. You have a Qi wireless charger down here, 2 USB-C ports, an electronic parking brake, 12-volt power outlet here, 2 cup holders, a multi-positional center armrest here that you can actually leave in higher positions if you want it to be just a little bit higher, which opens to a rather small center cubby. Audi does give you a cleaning cloth to make sure this is nice and clean from all the fingerprints, so you can see every single pixel that is right there in front of you. I really like the look of this dash. You get some wood trim here, a couple vents over there, and very angular, very industrial look here in the inside of the Audi. It does have brown seats with some gray suede accents on them. Really like the contrast of the brown and the gray in here. Gives it a really nice touch. Let's move on to the back. Sitting behind myself at 5'10", you can see the driver's seat is in my seating position. I've got enough room, and with the cutouts on the hard plastic on the back of the seats, I've got a little bit extra room. This does have a fold down center armrest with 2 cup holders in it right here. And then on the back of the center console, you get 2 positional air vents with a hot or cold dial down underneath and 2 USB-C ports down below it. Seat comfort is actually fairly good. It's not too hard, it's not too soft, and it does give you a rather bolstered approach in the backrest right here. So when you've got a driver driving like I'm about to, and you're riding back here in the back, you at least know you're going to be held in place a little bit. With those quattro all-wheel drive and those Pirellis, that thing is really fun to toss around. All right, I found the biggest, the longest, and the emptiest parking lot I could to test out just how fast this little car will go when you floor it. Okay, there's the turbo, and there it goes. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. 45, 48, 53, 57, and 60. Woo! Oh man, that's a fun little car, but it's no drag car. This really isn't built for drag racing. It's built for carving some corners. This is where I fell in love with this car. The styling definitely won me over. I absolutely love the new Audi styling and that aggressive grille up front. And this compact package really does well in its simplicity. But sitting here in this seat on curvy East Texas back roads, much like the one I'm on now, that's exactly what sold me on this car. Having this car is going to be very dangerous for me because it's got a big case of the once planted deep here in my heart, because it is so much fun on curvy back roads. First and foremost, the build quality in here. This thing just feels solid, like rock solid. it cannot be flapped. Like, everything in here just feels buttoned down and put together, and then the whole car feels buttoned down and put on the road for driving enjoyment and pleasure, and has made this an absolute blast of a time with this car. I can't help but have a big smile on my face when driving this. The only rattles I ever really hear in this car are from things that I bring with me, most notably my child seat back in the back seat. And if you want to know what my wife and kid think about this car, be sure and hit the subscribe button for their review dropping later this week. But as for me, yes, I absolutely love it in here. The gauges are quick, simple, and easy to read, and your drive mode select is down here, which I've just left in, well, the most sporty setting of them all, naturally, but you can go to comfort and individual as well. But let's put it back in dynamic. And this is this car's happy place. This is my happy place. Twisty, curvy roads. The acceleration feels linear and it does not startle you, and the 7-speed automatic delivers it quite well. If left to its own devices, it always really has you in the right gear for the situation and lets you go about exactly what you're doing. Those Pirelli P0 all-season tires really hold you to the road, and the Quattro all-wheel drive makes sure the power gets down to the wheels that need it. And then actually slowing down for some corners, these brakes have been relatively fade-free for me throughout my time of testing here, so much so that I've never not had confidence in them. And then, no matter the road surface, again, this car just cannot be flapped. Right now we're on rather smooth, recently repaved surfaces, and it does quite well on it. But even when the road gets less than ideal and a little pothole marked maybe, this thing still holds its own. Bumps in corners do not unsettle it and send it spinning or twisting or convulsing around corners, and doesn't leave you scrambling to regain control. This thing really stays planted and pointed in the direction that you want to go. And again, that 7-speed always seems to have the right gear in mind, even if left to its own devices. But if you want, you can row through the gears yourself with these paddle shifters on the back. They are plastic. They're nothing special unto themselves. They are mounted to the steering wheel, not the column. So just some things to note if you plan on having a little more spirited driving than I am here. But oh my goodness, this thing is so fun and at home on these curvy back roads. Now, what would this compete against? Well, recently we had the Mercedes-Benz C class here on the channel, and I really enjoyed my time with that vehicle. The bolsters in the seats held you in place a whole lot better than these seats do, so I will give it props for that. But where I was less confident in the Mercedes versus this Audi is the brake pedal. I mentioned before, I've really had no fade from these brakes. They've done the job that I've needed them to do, and they've never left me feeling unconfident or unsure of myself going into a corner, because their application is linear as well. It doesn't have a lot of travel before the brakes actually bite, kind of like that Mercedes did. Mercedes really had me worried about going into corners too quickly because I didn't know exactly when they were going to bite when pressing down on the brake pedal. Here in this Audi A3, it's actually doing a very good job communicating to me exactly what the car can do and what it is capable of. Speaking of what this car is capable of, you really feel that turbo when it kicks in, and it really throws you back in your seat. This is not a drag car by any means, but I did take it to a big open parking lot just to see what it could do. Let's see what kind of launch we can get from it. So, firmly on the brake, give it a little gas in. Okay. Oh. Okay. Pretty good. Woo! Yes, straight line speeds aren't exactly the forte of this 200 horsepower engine, but when the roads get curvy, it's a lot of fun. Let's see what this can do. Oh yeah. Oh, this car is so good. Puts a big smile on my face. Woo! So now we're going to see what happens when the road surface gets less than ideal and how well composed and buttoned down this car really is. You can tell it is a rougher suspension. It is a taut suspension, but it doesn't shake you to death. It doesn't beat you to death. It doesn't remind you of every ounce of fat on your body. It comfortably moves you down the road, even when it's less than smooth. This is the grown-up version of the Golf, and it does a very good job of it. At 35 years old, I've kind of outgrown the hot hatch scene, but definitely haven't outgrown this car. Coming up here is my absolute favorite thing about this car, its suspension and the whole chassis, and it is this. Oh my goodness. Yes, I love this car. I want one in my garage right now. Audi, I think I'm keeping your car. Well, unfortunately for me, my time is coming to a close with this Audi A3. And as I said in the intro, I really have begun to fall in love with this vehicle. This isn't even the most powerful. The S3 packs a bigger punch than this, and then the all-out performance version, the RS3, has a turbocharged 5 that I just have to sample myself, and doesn't hurt that it comes in a bright green as well. This has got me searching all over the Audi website, building and pricing and speccing my A3 as a replacement to my daily driver, because I drive something about this size anyway, so sticking in the same size wouldn't be that bad. And at $44,000, the way this one is spec'd isn't that bad either, and it could be a nice transition into something a little more premium for yours truly. Yes, I absolutely love this vehicle, even though it is in the base version of it with its 201 horsepower, with its quattro all-wheel drive, these Pirelli P0 all-season tires, and the 7-speed gearbox with flappy paddles. It's proven to be a lot of fun, and I'm gonna miss this one quite dearly. If you want to see what else we are driving before it is here, go find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all at GT Garage Talk. You can find our award-winning podcast by going to gtgaragetalk.com or searching for GT Garage Talk on your favorite podcast platform. If you want to see what we are reviewing next, be sure and hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you are notified every time a new video drops. As for me, I'm gonna go spend a little more quality time with something I've come to fall in love with quite dearly. Till next time, gearheads. Bye. Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna want to give this one back at all.